And I had been on Slack before. Maybe this is a question for Laura, and I can't seem to find, it's been a while since I've used it, but I'm not quite sure. It looks like I still have a Slack account, but can't figure out how to, maybe Facebook ads 331. Do I push that?
331, that's it. You got it.
Got it.
Yep. For anyone on the call that is having trouble finding our Slack group, you can search in the top search bar. Here, let me open up. I'll project my screen. We're going to use multiple forms of communication here. You all see my Slack? Can you see my Slack right now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So let's make that nice and big. So if you're in Slack and you're like, oh darn, where is my stuff? You'll have to, if you have multiple Slack channels, you'll have to find the one that is labeled 2020 Digital Marketing Bootcamp, which should be the one that you'll get to if you click the link from the email today. And then if you can't find it, so right now I'm in another class's Slack channel here, you can just click on the search bar and type in 331, March 31st, and you should be able to see ours. And then if you have not joined yet, it'll say join. So that's how you get into it. But I see a bunch of you have already started. If you can, I asked a couple of questions in here, which we'll get to in the slide deck. But if you can reply to each of these questions. So I have a question here that says, what is your Facebook, either paid or unpaid, or digital marketing experience? And what do you hope to get out of today? You can reply in the actual thread by clicking on this little bubble right here, this little thought bubble. And you click there and you can reply right in the thread. That way we can see everyone's responses to that question. And then I have a second question here. What is a fun fact about you? Again, you can click the little thread right here and respond that way. It keeps things a little organized. That way when I ask questions later, we can see everyone's responses in that actual question.
Okay.
And we're gonna get started now. It's about 3 past. We've already gotten started. We've talked about Slack, which is actually one of the more important things that I want to talk about for online training with General Assembly is being able to use the different tools. So we have Slack for asking me questions or responding to questions that I ask. There's also going to be some interactive work that we're going to do in the class today. And then we're going to use Zoom to see the presentation and to hear each other and to see each other. So that being said, I'm going to switch on over to my presentation. Facebook ads. Facebook ads. All right, let's get your beautiful faces blocking my controls here. There we go. All right, let me make that nice and big. So you should all be seeing Facebook ads workshop now. Give me a little nod if you can see that. Wonderful, thank you. Very animated nod there, Katie, I love it. More of that today, please. Okay, so my name is Tina Serio. I think a few of you have already taken some of my other classes. Just give me a little hand raise if you've already taken one of my classes. Okay, yay, welcome back. That's a good vote of confidence that you liked my other class. So today we're talking all about Facebook ads specifically. There's going to be some content that if you've taken my Instagram and or my lean marketing, there's some overlap content. They're similar, Instagram and Facebook are similar channels, but we're going to focus more on advertising today. So a few ground rules or expectations for our training. It's okay to play on social media. We're going to be opening up the Facebook app. Again, you can use desktop or you can use your mobile phone. So get used to using Facebook on your mobile phone because you're going to be able to interact with your audience a lot more. When we're going to go through Facebook Ads Manager, which is how we build an ad. I'm going to be using the desktop. There is a mobile application, but I find that the desktop's just a little easier to see. So we're going to be using multiple devices, a little cross-device training today. Second ground rule, it's not just about me. So I have a lot of examples today, but if you have an example from your work, from your real life, from an advertisement that you got served, I would love to hear from you. So just, unmute yourself, find a moment when I take a breath, and go ahead and let everyone know. That way we have some diversity in our examples. Already talked about Slack, be a Slacker. So go ahead and jump on in there if you haven't already. No screenshots necessary. That is really just to say that you're going to get the deck after this training. You're going to get the recording and the deck. So you're going to get all that material. You can certainly take screenshots if you're like, oh my God, I need to do this right now and I'm not going to get the deck right away. Go ahead and do it, but you'll get the deck within 5 business days. So you'll be able to get access to everything. And if you have issues, you can just reply to your today's the day email. Or if you can't find that, this is the email address for if you're having like technical issues, you can't hear me, you can't contact me during this training. Or if there's something that is going to slow down the pace of the class, I might say, hey, can you just email online@generalassembly.ly? That would be fantastic. Okay, and no one knows it all. So ask me questions. Likely somebody else also has that question. I also put this in here because there may be questions that I don't know. There's so many nuances to Facebook, to digital marketing, so many things that are changing that I might not be able to answer the question. So if I can't, I will try to find the answer after, or we can just hang on the line after the call and I can answer it if it's something specific to your business. Cool? Awesome. Here's what we're going to cover in a nutshell. I'm going to go through what Facebook is, why you should do Facebook, who, meaning who are you and who is your audience, where Facebook fits into the overall digital marketing landscape, where to post on Facebook, where you can find some of the latest features, where to find your business profile. If you don't already have one, you can easily create one or do it after the class. And then I have a lot of content in here about the how. So you'll find tips and best practices and case studies peppered throughout. I'm also going to teach you how to use Facebook Ad Manager, show you what the anatomy of an ad is, how to build a custom audience. That's the example I'm going to build today in Ad Manager, how to do measurement and optimization. And then some bonus material will be content on Facebook. So I think that's where, if any of you took the Instagram class, where you'll see a lot of overlap, because creating content is a best practice across any marketing channel and certainly any digital marketing channel. So before we dive in, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and jump into Slack. And if you haven't already, answer the questions that I posted in there. So name and location, your experience on Facebook or digital marketing. So you might be a brand new person using Facebook. You might be saying newsfeed. I didn't even know it was called that. You might be saying, I know some things, I've done a little bit, but I need some help, teach me. Or you're an expert and you want to teach the class. So please jump in and answer those questions. I'm going to go ahead and step through a few of those. I know we have a lot of people on the call today. How many do we have logged in? Oh yeah, we have a lot. So we might not be able to get through all of you, but I'll go ahead and pick a few and we'll jump in. Most importantly, a fun fact, please, about yourself. So give you a second to do that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to move my Slack down here so I can multitask. All right, we got some West Coasters. Love it. So I don't know if you saw my Slack response, but I live in Healdsburg, California, so Sonoma County up in wine country, and I am currently in Massachusetts, rural Massachusetts. I'm in my sister-in-law's childhood bedroom, so that's my life right now, living that quarantine life. I'm actually out of quarantine right now. I came from Europe 2.5 weeks ago, so I was actually here in quarantine, trying not to get the rest of my family sick. So I am healthy for now, knock on wood. But I'm here in Massachusetts. So we got some folks from the West Coast. Pavlos is from London. Oh my gosh, I hope you're doing okay over there. I was in Denmark, so that's all blown up now. Oh, Santa Rosa. Hi, Gracie. I'm going home in 3 weeks. I can't wait. I miss California. I miss Sonoma. All right. We got DC. Fantastic. Sarah Panning. Sarah, every time I read your name, I think it says Sarah Palin. I'm like, nope, Sarah Palin's not taking my class. Nope, not her. You're like, yeah, I know. All right, let's look at some of your experience. Okay, so I'll give you an intro to me in a moment. But I love Facebook, and I've been doing marketing for over 14 years now. I know I look so young, but my Botox is going to wear off in the next couple of days, right? Yep, it's going to happen. Okay, so we have Sarah, no Facebook ads experience. Okay, Nicole. Nicole, tell me a little bit about your role as an entry-level marketing analyst.
So I work for a mortgage company in Phoenix. I had been working previously in hospitality, kind of doing like just really simple social media marketing, and I have a fine arts degree, so they kind of gave me a shot to work on some more analytical aspects of this. My coworker does more of the Google ads, and I'm kind of focusing more on social media. So we've been running ads and getting conversions, but I'm kind of stuck in this, like, what is a pixel? How do I use it? You know, things like that. So I'm building more landing pages and trying to figure out how to market properly for mortgages, you know?
Absolutely. Great. Thanks for giving me that background. I saw Rachel shaking her head over there. What's your experience? Are you kind of in the same boat as Nicole? Yep, you're on mute. Oh, you can't speak, right? Okay, sorry. I picked the one person that couldn't speak. All right, well, shake your head. I like the participation regardless of the audio over there. Okay, we have Rebecca, who's an entrepreneur. No idea what you're doing in regards to ads. Love it. Okay. Little experience. Okay, Jessica, a little bit of experience with paid. Okay, Katie. So Katie Gathright, you've been doing marketing for about 9 years. Want to tell us a little bit about your Facebook experience?
Yeah, sure. So I've done a lot of Facebook organic stuff throughout. And in my most recent job, I did some direct, like managing Facebook ads for recruitment and also for trying to generate leads. But then in the past before that, I did supervise somebody at an advertising agency who ran Facebook campaigns, but that was more sort of like me being involved at a higher level. So I'm interested in kind of going back to the basics and sort of learning from the ground up and making sure I'm kind of airtight on things.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Cool. All right. Who else do we have? All right. We got Michaela has been doing Facebook and Insta ads for years. No idea if what you're doing is best practice. Yep. I hear you. Totally. All right. We got a lot of people that have done a little bit of Facebook advertising. Okay. Isabel, Newport, you're on the East Coast. You were in corporate marketing for years, managing a large-scale online ad campaigns, including Facebook. All right, so you started your own small business. Tell me about that. What's your small business?
So it's a marketing consulting business, and I thought it was important to mention that I came from managing large campaigns and having the agencies set up the campaigns and do a lot of the back end for me, and now I'm in that position. So I want to become more adept at setting up Facebook campaigns, running them, and then also doing the reporting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of us go the other direction, right? We do like the groundwork, the nitty gritty kind of execution work. And then over the course of our career, we get the agencies that we can manage. And we're like, I know how that works. I did that myself. So
Right.
you've kind of gone the other direction, right? But you
That's
probably
right.
have a ton of kind of that foundational, the theoretical understanding. And you obviously have to manage an agency. You have to know, a lot of the basics, probably more than that. So I know once you get into it yourself, you're like, whoa, they were doing a lot of stuff. So
Definitely, especially on the analytics. Right. Yeah.
cool. Okay. Let's go ahead and jump into the next question, the fun question. So fun fact, I will talk a little bit about my dog in a moment, but I have two fun facts. One is that I love cheese. I think most of our shelter-in-place grocery list is centered around cheese. So just trying to keep our spirits up over here. And I love French bulldogs, so I have a French bulldog, and I'll show you a picture of her in a moment. But let's see what you guys have to offer. Okay, Connor, you resell sneakers as a hobby? Cool.
Yes.
There's Connor. Can't see him.
Right here.
Oh, there you are. Awesome.
It's like a side thing to make some extra cash.
Did you
For
have eBay?
there's like different apps you can use. It's like similar to, it's pretty much like the stock market except for sneakers. It's actually pretty lucrative. So.
Awesome. Very cool. That's the first of those fun facts that I've heard. Very cool. All right, let's see here. Alexis, what's your, you're mentioning a reselling platform. All right, cheese and a cat lover, Nicole. Gal after my own heart. Rachel doesn't have a gallbladder and she can't explain any further because she doesn't have audio, so we'll just go with that.
Actually, I do have audio now.
Oh, okay. You're reverberating a little bit, but that's okay. Oh,
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. So no gallbladder.
Yeah, about 2 years ago, I had emergency surgery and had stones in my gallbladder. So it was pretty intense surgery, but I'm fine now and glad for health insurance. So
Yes, absolutely. My dad was just in the hospital for what he thought was gallstone. This is probably too much information, but they were kidney stones. And he was like, oh God, thought I was out of it.
it's pretty intense.
Yeah. Yeah, he likes to tell us that it's as bad as giving birth, which my sister-in-law, who's had one child and then two twins, argues with him constantly about that. Okay, so let's see here, Brendan. So tell us a little bit about your pup.
I have a 4-year-old Australian Shepherd who is incredibly fun, but also annoying to work from home with. And I think when I look at my budget allocation, I probably spend more on him than I do myself.
Oh, that's okay. What's your dog's name?
His name is Mole, like mole sauce.
Oh, I love Mole.
He's a tricolor.
What a cute name. Oh my gosh. Well, my dog's named after food too. Her name's Brie, after the cheese. So
Yeah, that makes sense with the cheese.
but yeah, that's the correlation that in my fun facts. I know, very original. All right, and then we have one other person that's a tricolored Aussie, and I can't pronounce her name, so I'm going to ask you to pronounce it first before I butcher it.
Yeah, my name is Amy. Last name is Barbera.
Oh, okay, just Amy. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Your username came through.
Oh, that's weird. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I was like, wow, what an interesting spelling. I have no idea how to say that. All right, Amy, you got another Aussie over there. So cute. And Farrell has a terrier. Okay, lots of dogs, lots of cats. Let's go ahead and jump into the training. Thanks for sharing a little bit about yourselves. I do that kind of as an icebreaker, also to get you guys used to talking on Slack. So a little bit about me. Let me go ahead and minimize your faces over there. Okay, a little bit about me. Here's my contact information, which you will get in this deck. You also have my email. I'm copied on the welcome emails that you got from General Assembly, but this is my work email, my non-GA work email. So if you did want to contact me directly, you're welcome to. You can also connect with me via various social media platforms. A little bit about my experience and background. I've worked with both B2B and B2C brands, so business to business and business to consumer, from very small and medium-sized businesses to enterprise-sized companies. So I just dropped in a couple of logos of companies that I've worked with, who I've worked with over the course of my career. You can see some are nonprofit or for me, pro bono work. So I work for the Healdsburg Chamber of Commerce, and that's my volunteering that I do. Many of these other brands I've either worked with when I worked at an agency, worked at these companies, or are clients of mine. So like I said, I have 14 years of experience in both strategy and execution. So you'll notice that today I'll be talking a little bit about both sides. So how to plan your campaigns and then how to execute your campaigns. I started my consulting company back in January of 2018, and it's grown. Now it's my full-time job, and I do digital marketing trainings through General Assembly and some other websites out there, like entrepreneur.com, for example. What I've focused on most in my career has been digital marketing, specifically advertising. Social media has been a huge piece. Obviously, it's a massive channel. I've done a lot of paid search and SEO as well. So if you have questions about that, happy to answer those after this training. I've also done email, display media, and one of my huge passions is international marketing. I actually work with a pretty large tech company in the Bay Area, and I work on their international campaigns. And then also my other side hustle job is I'm a bar and cycle instructor for the Santa Rosa Daily Method. So who's my Santa Rosa gal? Who was that? Oh, you're on mute. That's okay.
I am. But I don't live there now, but I think there was somebody else that lives there now.
Oh, okay. Somebody's from Santa Rosa. Hold on, let me go back through my thing. Oh, Gracie. Gracie's from Santa Rosa. Awesome. Perfect. Okay, yeah. If you want to take a bar class, I teach in Santa Rosa. So, and we're doing all virtual classes now. So classes from my in-laws and living room now. All right, so my fun fact is that I love cheese and I love French bulldogs. So I named my pup Brie. She has her own Instagram. So I know we're talking about Facebook today, but she's only on Instagram. She's gonna keep up with all of her followers. She's following a lot more people than she actually has for followers, but that's okay. She posts pretty regularly, so feel free to follow her. I'm not gonna ask you to follow me, but I would love for you to all follow my dog. No, I'm kidding. You can do whatever you want. She's adorable. Okay, so we're gonna dive in. We're gonna center ourselves today as we're building our campaign around what General Assembly calls the objective first framework. So what is that? Well, let's start with objectives. So when you're building out a Facebook campaign, your first ad campaign, this is the best practice, is to start with what your objective is gonna be, your goal of your campaign. That could be something as simple as sales or revenue or orders. It could be something a little bit more challenging to understand, like brand awareness. So we'll dive into that in a moment. Next, you're going to set your KPIs, your key performance indicators. This is going to be your metric for your campaign that's going to tell you if you're efficiently achieving your goal or if you're not. Once you set those two foundational items, you can start designing your tactics. This is how you're going to present your business to your customers via channels. So you could say, I want to run Facebook ads and Google paid search ads. That could be your designing of tactics. Part of that is also going to be your targeting. So you might say, hey, I want to design a Facebook campaign that incorporates retargeting, which we'll get into. That would be part of the designing the tactics. You would want to make sure that whatever the tactics are that you design ladder up to your objectives that you set. Next, you're going to execute your campaign. So you're going to build your campaign within Facebook ads. You're going to click publish and actually go live. And then you're going to start collecting data on your campaigns. Then you're going to measure your outcomes. So this is your analytical piece, which we'll dive into a framework that I have for building out your analysis. But you'll need to make sure that you have the right tracking in place. A few of you mentioned pixels. So having that tracking in place on each of the platforms that you're running so that you can then see how your individual ads are performing, your individual audience targeting subsets are performing. Website analytics, you can use the Facebook pixel to see things, see how people that are coming from Facebook are interacting on your website. But I'd also recommend layering that on with a website analytics tool such as Google Analytics. And then finally, you take all that data and you glean the insights from that data and you identify opportunities for optimization. So what actions are you going to take based on the performance that you're seeing from the data? So that's the framework that we're going to use today. Let's talk a little bit about what Facebook is. So a little quiz for you. Go ahead and drop into Slack, true or false. People go on Facebook to buy your stuff. And I'm going to wait for some comments to roll in. Yeah, false. So false. They're not going onto Facebook saying, I want to buy your shoes, right? And they're going to go onto Facebook to buy it. Why do they go onto Facebook? They may find your shoes on Facebook, which we're going to talk about building ads to do that, but that's not their initial intent. So they go on Facebook to resolve a few different things, anything from connection to boredom. So they may be looking for some sort of social interaction right now more than ever, right? Maybe they're information seeking or trying to pass time, looking for entertainment, relaxation, expressing an opinion, or maybe they're trying to engage in a conversation or find topics of conversation that they can then engage either offline or off Facebook. And they're going on because it's convenient. It's convenient, easy, at their fingertips. So there's a lot of different ways that you can interact with social media today. There's a lot of different platforms that you can use, a lot of different tools you can use. Really, you want to find the one that's the best for your business. So if your audience is not on Twitter, you might not want to waste your time on Twitter. If you have a good handle on creating content and keeping it organized, you might not need a content creation, content organization tool. But if you do, there are tools out there to help you with any of your digital marketing, and specifically with social media and Facebook. There are certainly plenty to choose from. So when you're creating a piece of content, when you're engaging on social media, you want to make sure you're speaking the language and speaking the language of the particular platform that you're posting on or sharing content on. So if you're on Facebook and you want to talk about coffee, something that you might say would be like, I like coffee. If you're on Twitter, you're using something like, I'm drinking #coffee. If you're on LinkedIn, you're going to talk about, my skills include drinking a lot of coffee. So this is obviously a dramatization of how you would actually speak on these different channels, but it's basically here to say you don't want to just be copying and pasting what you're posting on Instagram on Facebook, for example. So why should we even be talking about Facebook today? Why should we be even looking at Facebook or Facebook ads? So Facebook active users have been growing and growing and growing. So with this trajectory, it's continuing to grow even today. So this little infographic goes up to 2017. But as of 2019, there were 2.41 billion users on Facebook. So a ton, it's continuing to grow. And it's one of the highest in terms of the monthly users compared to other social media. So for those of you that took my Instagram class, Instagram is much lower. This is as of 2017, but hasn't really changed too much in terms of the allocation of users. But you also want to, when you're looking at selecting a social media channel, you also want to think about your target audience. So are they even on Facebook? If you don't know, then you can utilize this market share to see which social media channel would be the most prudent for you to start with. Okay, so some of the benefits of Facebook marketing. So if you're trying to sell Facebook to your stakeholders internally, to your business partner, here are some nuggets you can take away. So it continues to dominate the social media landscape. It is one of the top recommended platforms for brands and businesses to utilize. And there are many different tactics that I'm going to show you today that you can use. You have real-time data. So any digital marketing effort is going to have that real-time data where you can make quick analyses and you can make drastic changes, not just to the execution. So not just pause ad, unpause ad, but also to the strategy. If you say, oh my gosh, we got started, we wanted to drive sales, but people don't know who we are, it's much easier to switch to an awareness objective, an awareness strategy on digital marketing on Facebook versus if you're trying to turn the Titanic around on a traditional marketing channel. You're able to get market research. So you can stay informed about what your customers are thinking, what they're saying. You can employ crowdsourcing. So if you wanted to, say, create a blog post about a particular topic, I have a client right now that is in the nonprofit sector, and they're going to be writing a blog post about how nonprofits can interact with their donors, with their constituents during either a recession or during a crisis. One place that they could do that would be social media and use crowdsourcing to try to get information about what people are saying. Getting input from online communities. So thinking about like Facebook groups, for example. Building your reputation. If you have a good standing on a platform like Facebook, it's going to help you with your branding. It's going to help with your increasing your profile's reach by posting and acquiring new followers. Sorry, I'm just going to minimize your faces here. There we go. It's also going to help with your nurturing advocacy and loyalty and your credibility amongst brand evangelists, amongst your people that have liked your Facebook pages. And you can really go viral by influencing the influencers. So what that means is there's people out there, people that you probably trust, who have already gained the respect of their followers, and you could benefit from partnering with them or getting their attention and having them actually speak for you and give you a vote of confidence. Visitors to your website. So certainly you can drive additional traffic from social media to your website that you might not have gotten in any other way. You might not have gotten it from your organic search efforts or from people just directly clicking through to your website or from your email campaigns. And the possibility of viral marketing happens when you do something awesome. So if you provide a relevant, valuable piece of content or a post or an ad, people are going to want to share that. Okay, so more on the why. It's a little stat or a little table that I found from a survey done by eMarketer. So the first chart that I'm going to show you here is internet users who have purchased a product from a brand that they discovered on social. So you can see Facebook, 30% of internet users have purchased a product when they found that brand on Facebook. Around the same for Instagram, a little bit less for Pinterest, and so on. I'm including the ages here, so you can take a look at where your age bracket falls, not yours personally, but your target audience. Where do they fall? If you're primarily trying to reach folks that are over the age of 55, about 15% of those folks are actually going to purchase something after discovering them on Facebook. Okay, so this chart, a lot more numbers here, but this shows which social platforms internet users use to keep up with brands and brands. So these are the different platforms that people that are on the internet are using. So if you're looking in the Facebook column, 57% of internet users will use Facebook to keep up with what businesses and brands that they are interested in are doing. So huge, 57%, right? And then again, you can follow the line to your target audience. If you have more females versus male, look in that row, and then the ages below. All right, so a little bit about why I love Facebook. I'm going to turn it back on you guys too. I would love to hear from you why you love Facebook. So all positive here, all right? I will hear your gripes later, but we all have our gripes with Facebook, right? So why I love Facebook, I'm going to tell you about a little targeting that I got a couple of months ago. So my husband and I bought our first single-family home about a year ago. We've been renovating and redecorating ever since. So I'm constantly on Wayfair, which is a home decor, home furnishings website. So I was on their website and I was perusing these TV consoles that have a fireplace in them. They're actually pretty inexpensive relative to what I thought they were going to cost. So I was on their website on my mobile device. I then went on to their app, and when I went to their app, they knew from when I was on their website that I was interested in TV consoles. So I got some featured sales, featured products that were related to my past relevant searches. I also got served an ad on Instagram and on Facebook from Wayfair showcasing the products that I was searching before. So a little bit of retargeting here that they did. I also got a direct mail piece, which some of you might say, wow, that's a little bit creepy. I thought it was super cool. So they actually customized this direct mail piece to TV consoles and gave me a little discount code as well so that I could then take myself over the finish line and actually make a purchase. And then because I have obviously shown and behaved in a way that showcased I was interested in home furnishings and home decor, I also have now been targeted on Facebook and Instagram and on display ads across the internet with relevant content for myself. So yes, a lot of us might be saying, okay, fine, I'm done buying my car. I don't want to see this anymore. But for me, I'm probably always going to be somebody that it behaves like somebody that wants to decorate their home. So receiving them is actually really beneficial for me. So does anyone have an example of some targeting that they enjoyed from Facebook targeting or something that they've purchased via a Facebook ad? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Any brave souls? Has anyone ever purchased something from a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad? You can talk about that if you want.
So I teach Pilates. I own a Pilates studio, and I constantly get, between Lululemon, Athleta, and then right now, because I'm home, I'm getting all these ads for like Dribble Up and like different companies that are trying to help me be able to stay in touch with my clients. Like I'm getting how to, sell magic circles and all of those things to my clients.
Awesome. Yeah. So it's good when it works. It's bad when it's not, when it doesn't, right? I also get a lot of that because I work at a studio, so I get a lot of that stuff too. And I'm always like, oh my God, more at-home workouts, yay. But it can get to be a lot. You're like, all right. One of my friends was pregnant a couple of years ago, and she just like kept on getting the like diaper ads and all of that. Like after, you know, I think it was more like after she had the kid, she's like, fine, I get it. All right, I'm trying to buy this stuff. There was actually a really bad example of, I don't know if it was on, I think it was on Facebook, I can't remember. But Target actually, I don't know if anyone heard this example, but Target actually was targeting this 16-year-old girl, and they actually sent her a direct mail pamphlet. And it was like, oh, here's like a whole bunch of products for you and your new baby. And she was like 16 and her dad found it, and like, you know, it caused a whole, you know, issue with her and her family. So you gotta be careful. I don't think they, you know, I think brands are now a little bit more cautious after that horror story, but you gotta be careful with what you're posting out to people. Okay. So back to your objective first framework. Now we're gonna dive into setting objectives and KPIs for your Facebook ad campaign. So the first thing we're going to talk about is your objective. So if you were working for Wayfair, for example, and you were trying to sell TV stands, let's say that our objective statement is our goal this quarter is to sell 5,000 TV stands. Objective statement, really nice and clear and clean. Hopefully this is relevant to their business. So the KPI, one of the KPIs that they could, or the KPI that they could use to see if their ad is doing well, would be a cost per acquisition. So what is the acquisition? So acquisition for us at Wayfair would be an order. So an order of a TV stand, right? So cost per, and then it would be order. So the equation for that, the formula, would be cost per acquisition would be cost over order. Following me so far? All right, so let's say that Wayfair is going to get $50,000 to run this TV stand campaign. So they have an ad budget, their cost is $50,000. So if we look at that equation and we say ad cost, $50,000 over acquisition, what would their target cost per acquisition be? What would that equate to? Feel free to drop it into Slack if you're shy, or shout it on out. So ad cost over their target order. I know the math.
$10.
$10, you got it. All right. So if their budget is $50,000 and they're trying to achieve 5,000 orders, then their target CPA, as they're looking at their analytics, is going to be $10. So if they have one ad that has a CPA of $12 and one that has a CPA of $8, that $8 ad is going to be the one that performs best. So you want to have your cost per acquisition be lower than your target. So that's going to help.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you figure out the budget?
Yeah, sure. So what you're going to do is, so for this one, we were given the budget. So a lot of times we work either with clients or we work in a larger organization and we're told, hey, we'll give you, $5,000 to test out Facebook, for example. If you have a client and they're like, we don't know, we have endless amount of budget, just tell us what to spend. Or if you're trying to do this for your business, what you're going to do is you're going to take a look in the Facebook Ad Manager platform, and you're going to build out your audience, and then you can see what the estimated performance is going to be. So estimated audience size, estimated clicks and impressions, and you can back into it that way. So a lot of times when you're doing media planning and budget planning, you're going to start with some budget that works well for you, and you're going to divvy it up to the different channels you're going to run. If you're just running on one channel, then you're going to divvy up your budget across, say, the different targeting that you're going to run. That's typically how I do it. Most of us will have some sort of budget to go off of to get started. But I would say, you know, you could use the forecasting tool within Facebook to try to help you to understand what you can expect.
So I know, sorry to interrupt, but Facebook can estimate impressions and audience size for you, but they can't make a guess at what the actual conversions will be, correct?
Right, yeah, they can't, I don't believe they can do that. I know there's tools out there to help you with that if you have the data, but you need to have some data to start with to figure out, okay, for when I get this many impressions, this is how many conversions I'm going to get, and you can use that percentage to figure out, okay, if Facebook's telling me I'm going to get X amount of impressions, this is what I can expect from a conversion standpoint.
Okay. And are there any tools either with Facebook or kind of outside platforms that help you optimize your creative for Facebook?
Like if you wanted to do testing, or
I guess like I know there are some best practices in terms of Facebook advertising, but is there anything you can like upload your ad and it'll say, you know, based on this ad as is, you know, you can expect X, Y, or Z, or here's how you optimize this for conversion? Like you should use less text, or you should use, I don't know, image.
I actually don't know of a tool where you can put your ad in and it'll tell you how your ad's going to perform, because there's so many different, factors, right? I mean, that's why we do testing. Well, you know, you test out a few different ads and see how they perform, and then you use that knowledge in the future. I'm sure there's probably something out there, but I think a lot of times that's kind of the human side versus the machine side. So there's still always going to have to be some sort of human interaction as you're making optimizations, because, you know, you're going to be looking at, what I like to do is I like to have, you know, a single piece of my ad be the test element. So if you're going to have all the same copy and then test out a few different images, you can set up the test within Facebook without using any sort of external tool. And then you would just have Facebook do a split test to tell you how you should, or how each of the different images performs. I do something similar within like Google search ads, where I might change up my my headline and keep my description lines the same. That way I'll know that that singular piece was what impacted the ads.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. But you did mention text on text in terms of text in an ad. When you're uploading an image, there is a requirement from Facebook to keep the actual text on an image to under 20%. And there's a Facebook tool, I can show you where to get to that in Ads Manager, that will tell you if your image actually has less than 20% text. So that's just one thing that your ad could be disapproved versus just performing better or worse. Okay. Thank you for the questions. Jumping into the who. So when we're talking about the who, the audience, that's central to any successful Facebook ads campaign. So you want to make sure that you're delivering the right message to the right person at the right time. So let's talk a little bit about time and time spent on Facebook. So this first chart is going to show you how much time the average person spends on different social media platforms. So this is in minutes. So you can see for Facebook, which is the red line here, average is about 33%. Let's post into Slack. How much time do you think you spend on Facebook on any given day? This is per day. Go ahead and just post it into Slack. Give you guys a couple seconds to do that. 4 hours, okay. We're gonna have an intervention for you, Rachel. All right, 2 hours, unless you're doing a lot of client work, then totally fine. 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes to an hour. Yeah, that's about how much time I spent. I stopped looking at Facebook when I first woke up and when I went to bed. That's a big no-no in our house. So I luckily have broke that habit. But I'm now on it a lot for my clients and then kind of get distracted by all the puppies and babies that are on Facebook. 30 minutes, okay. So you guys are around the average. That's pretty good. I'm assuming, Amy, for example, Connor, you guys are on there about 2 hours. Are you on there for personal or are you on there for work, or a little mix of both?
For me, it's a combination of both. It really just depends. And if I have multiple campaigns going on, or if I'm uploading a ton of ads, like that can change and completely throw off my day. And then I'm on it for like 4 hours.
Yep, totally. I do the same thing. All right, cool. All right, this next chart here shows the percentage of internet users ages 18 to 24 in the US that are projected across these different social channels. So percentage of internet users. So if you're looking at Facebook, which is the gray line here, it's showing that 62% by the year 2023 will be using Facebook. So still a lot, still a decent amount of folks. It is on a slight decline here in terms of this age group, 18 to 24. So if your audience is 18 to 24, you're going to see that kind of slow decline over time. Whereas on other channels such as Snapchat and Instagram, they are either stable or on incline. Okay, a little bit more about your audience. So defining your ideal customer profile or persona. So a couple questions you can ask yourself as you're trying to develop this. So you can ask, who is my target audience? Maybe who am I trying to reach? Who is our ideal customer? So kind of 3 different ways of getting after your ideal customer. Then thinking about a geo. So should you focus on the US, one particular DMA, one particular state? Who purchases our products or services? And who uses our products and services on a day-to-day basis? And then who else should we consider in that decision-making process? So I like to use the example of, if I was trying to purchase a vehicle for my husband, he needs a car, we're sick of sharing our car, and I need to get him a car. And I'm the one that does the research on the big ticket purchases in the family. So, which is a lie, he does that. But so if I'm the person that's actually making the purchase, and I'm the one that actually is doing the research, then the car companies would need to be targeting me from the perspective of I'm a purchaser of a car. However, they may also need to create a campaign targeting someone like my husband who's going to influence the purchase process. So this actually plays out really, that's a B2C example. In the B2B world, this happens all the time. So say you're selling a marketing software, the end user who's going to use the product might be a marketing coordinator, but the marketing coordinator doesn't hold the purse strings. So they're not the one that's actually going to make the purchase. It might be the procurement person or an IT person or the CMO or the owner. So there would have to be different ads, different targeting for those different business decision makers in that purchase process. So I'm going to pause right here. I'm going to give you guys a breakout room, and I want you to try to answer some of these questions for your target audience. So let's just come up with one potential customer profile for your business. You don't have to answer all these questions, but these will be a guiding, this will be a guidance for you to come up with your, a profile or persona. So I'm going to break you out into breakout groups. Does anyone have any questions about doing this exercise as a group? You're going to be in a group of probably 3 or 4 people. You check in Slack. Any questions? So just go around the group here. I'm going to jump you into, where's my breakout rooms? There we go. Jump you into breakout rooms. Go ahead and try to get around to each of you. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to do this. So go ahead and take your time. I'll jump into the group. So try to switch every like 3 to 4 minutes, okay? Okay, go ahead and click on the room request that I just sent to you.
Hey, Tina.
Hi, hold on.
Are you the instructor?
I am.
I just had a quick question. I am overwhelmed with work. It's been quite intense. And I was wondering if there is any way, and I know it's very last minute, to reschedule and participate in another time that you provide this training, so that I can finish up some things and not have to multitask all the time. I really want to be focused on this.
Yeah, I think you can. You would just need to reply to the today's the day email that you got today and ask the General Assembly admin person. They should be able to just give you a promo code. Just say, you know, you had some issues and you can't join today.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't tell you definitely if they'll do that, but I'm assuming they would. And you'll get the recording, but if you want to participate, that's the best way to do that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And I apologize. But yeah, things have been going nonstop. So
No worries. Good luck with your work.
yeah, thank you so much. Okay, bye.
All right, folks, we're all coming back. It's going to take about 30 seconds for everyone to get kicked out of their breakout room. So let's just wait for everyone to join back in. You got everyone? Okay, everyone's in. Perfect. All right, so who wants to, does anyone, any brave soul want to tell us what your audience is or what you discussed? If not, I'll pick on you.
I'm happy to go.
Okay, great.
So I was sharing with my group that I manage a healthcare supplement brand that that supports heart health, and so our target is men and women 45 plus who are interested in heart health, and outside of that, we do kind of general health as well, and they typically, from what we've seen with our current customer base, they tend to be fairly affluent. So sometimes we'll do kind of a higher household income kind of targeting aspect on top of that.
Awesome. How did you, I'm just curious, how did you get at that demographic information? Did you do research or just looking at your customer data?
So a lot of it is looking at existing customer data and consumer research with existing customers, and then some of it is just the fact that we know there's certain age groups at which people start becoming concerned with heart health, just kind of based on the realities of getting older and the fact that most people have to go see a cardiologist around age 50. So it's kind of a mix of looking at the different tools that we use, including Amazon. Amazon gives you some demographic info, and some just kind of common sense types of data.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for sharing. Anybody want to share, or anyone have any challenges, questions while you were going through this exercise?
I don't mind sharing.
Okay, great.
I work for we like grow grass seed and then we sell lawn care products to hardware stores, side growers, garden centers, but I also just built their online website. So we also now sell directly to customers. So I chose to do this directly for a customer. And so our target customer tends to be someone who's newly purchased a home. They are often like over 30. I've seen like on Facebook and through Google that they tend to fall off around 65. That just might be from using those tools. They're not as comfortable with them. We're trying to reach people generally who have trying to create a new lawn, update their lawn, or someone who has a problem. So a lot of times people come to the industry when they have an issue. Otherwise, they just leave their lawn. So, say they have grubs or dandelions, then suddenly they reach out and are looking to us to solve their problem. Our ideal customer is in the US because that's the only place we sell. And it tends to be both men and women are equally interested. Men seem to be more interested in like mowers and like the manly aspects of it, but we find that women are oftentimes very much involved in the decision-making process of the outdoors.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's a lot. I have a couple questions for you. So when you're talking about the US, do you have, would you anticipate doing different campaigns and or ads for different geographies within the US?
Right now I'm doing, because spring is like the main season, apparently people only really make purchases like primarily in the spring. And so we're doing a bunch of different more local ones like in Chicago, New York. And then we also base it off of the season. So as it gets warmer, we focus more on the South because it's warmer sooner. And then we focus more and more north as it gets warmer.
Yeah, awesome. And do you do different ads for the different like regions of the United States or? Okay.
I've started to, but the thing is I don't have any data yet, so I don't know what works well in each region. I just am like trying to compare the different regions against each other.
Yeah, totally. It might make sense to do tests like within a region, right? So do a couple different ads within a particular region. What was I going to say? Yeah, that makes sense. There was something else I was going to ask you, but now I forget. Actually, I do want to ask you, where are you located? You look like you're outside, and I'm jealous.
I'm in San Francisco,
In
or
San-
like Bay Area.
Okay, all right. It looks, I don't know if that's like a photo or like a painting behind you, or if that's your outdoors that's reflecting.
That's the reflecting of the outdoors.
Oh, beautiful. It's
Very
like,
nice. I need to get that vitamin D.
yeah, it's gloomy and cold out here in Massachusetts. So I'm very
That
jealous.
sounds horrible.
I know. It's beautiful when it snows and you're inside, but the spring
I
is,
lived in Massachusetts. I got sick of that cold weather real quick.
that's why I don't live here anymore. I've lived in the Bay Area for 11 years now and haven't looked back, but now I'm here. Oh, I know I was going to ask you. So I don't want to go too much down like the negative path in terms of the world right now, but have you seen any data that indicates that your customers are purchasing more through your e-commerce, through your store, while they're at home and maybe not, going to like a Home Depot, going to a Lowe's, things? I don't know if you've seen that. I've seen all industries kind of do have trends right now. Obviously, travel's like, and then a lot of like commerce is actually it varies depending on the industry.
It's a little bit hard to say just from numbers wise because we only launched our e-commerce website in January, so we don't have any data from the year before. And spring is our big season, so it's hard to know if we would just be making these kind of sales because it's our big season. But I do think, I think a lot of people are still making a lot of purchases online. Luckily for us, hardware stores are considered essential right now, so people can still make purchases, but I think if it's available online, seems like we're getting a lot of traffic there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Let's do one more. Anyone else want to share their target audience?
I had a challenge that I can share.
Yeah, please.
So I do PR for the School of Design at the University of Texas at Austin. So we have a lot of different, a variety of audiences for one thing, and then it just depends so much on what we're doing. So like if we're trying to find new students or recruit new faculty members or market like a new degree program, we just launched a new MA in Design and Health. So then we were trying to market healthcare workers, so it's like, I have had issues trying to hone our audience because it feels like we're having to do it constantly for so many different things. So I don't know if you can speak to that at all. It's different when you have like one product and like, this is our target audience and like, this is who we market to. But yeah, it feels like we're constantly kind of tweaking our audience, which can be difficult.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that challenge, if you're doing a good job segmenting so that you can provide relevant content to your audience, then it's going to get complex. So you need to balance how much like time and resources you and your team have with making sure that you're creating a very relevant experience for each audience. So for you, for example, you have folks that are in many different industries, many different, potential job functions that might want different, credentials, different certificates, whatever your school offers. So I think you're doing the right thing. It's just a matter of how do you want to organize yourself and your time to be able to create these audiences. And just remember that when you create something for one audience that, is tailored to that audience, something similar that you tailor to another audience is going to perform differently. So if you create ads for, say, the healthcare industry with what your school has to offer, and then you create an ad specific to the tech industry that for what the tech industry can get from your school, they might perform differently because people in those industries are going to interact with Facebook differently. So trying not to compare them to each other too much, and really compare them to within that audience, how the different ads that you're trying to target actually do perform within those. So yes, I do agree, it does get complex, but it really does need to be a balance. I mean, looking at your analytics too is going to help you, but I'll just tell you, it's a challenge, so just try to stay as organized as possible as you can. Do you have multiple people working on your Facebook campaigns at any given time?
No, it's mainly, yeah, it's mostly me. And then I do have a direct supervisor and we're the team, but I focus a lot on digital and she's a lot more media relations and kind of outward facing things. So yeah, it's been a learning curve for sure.
Yeah, and I'll talk a bit about, this might sound kind of simple, but like naming conventions. When you create your first Facebook campaign, you might be like, oh, okay, I'll name it whatever. And then you create your, 50th Facebook campaign and you're like, what the heck am I looking at in this platform? So it gets to, especially when you have multiple people working on it, but since it's just you, come up with a naming convention that makes sense for the different audiences that you're creating. I'm like a single person in my business, and I still organize myself like I'm 15 different people. So I will whiteboard, I'll pretend that I'm like brainstorming by myself. So even the same like organization practices that you would employ if you work for an agency with 10 people on an account should still hold still if you're the one person managing an account. So that would be what I would say to you to try to keep things organized. Anyone else have any suggestions for Michaela on that, or ways that you've organized yourself, either with Facebook or other channels?
For me, I like to use Trello to see what's going in and out, just to have a running checklist there, and then everyone else that's on my team can see what's happening and is well aware of all the communications going out.
Totally. Yeah, Trello is great for project management, specifically with marketing. They have really easy to read boards, so it's kind of like, your project board. Asana is also, I use Asana a lot. You can set up Asana to look like Trello. You can set it up to look like a task list. It's great for collaboration. For one of my clients, we use Hootsuite specifically for social posting. In the appendix of this deck, I have a whole bunch of different tools that I use or that students in these classes have recommended to me, so students like yourselves. So you can take a look at those, and I always say, try to use the free tools until it becomes unmanageable, and then start looking towards the paid tools. So, and kind of go from there. So if you're, like when I worked at Autodesk, we had like a massive, amount of tools that we had to use because there was dozens and dozens of people working on our marketing campaigns because the company is, over 10,000 people. So you have to kind of figure out what works best for your business. But yeah, Trello's a good one. Amy, did you have something that you wanted to, I saw you unmuted too.
Oh, yeah. Just to keep, I personally, we have a pretty small firm, but also we're constantly doing reporting. And so for naming conventions, it became super, super important. And basically we kind of came up with like as simple as like a Google Sheets in which we just kept track of all like the ongoing ads and like their flight times and a couple metrics, just so we can keep that up to date and like can look at it overall and like know when to optimize, and different people within different departments can see that as well. So I don't really know what the structure is of her business, but for us, that's one way that we've been able to communicate, and it's free. It's just a little bit more labor intensive.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's not as pretty as Trello or Asana, but I'm going to talk about content calendars a little bit later if we have time. You'll get the content anyway, but creating a content calendar can mean creating just a Google Doc with all your content. So for me, my content calendar for Modern Digital, which is a big old mess because I do this, I have to do work for my clients, is just a Google Doc that myself and my virtual assistant manage, and we just keep that updated. So whatever works for your business, but I would say like taking a step back, thinking about like how to organize any of your digital marketing is always a good practice. Okay, let's dive in. So when we're talking about our audience selection, you can already start to see how some of the work that you did in that exercise will start to slot into the different targeting options within Facebook ads. So a few of you mentioned age, many of you mentioned you know, your gender demographics. So those will easily slot into some Facebook targeting selections. Some of the other things that might not easily slot in, but you can still use in your brainstorming are things like, what kind of car does he or she drive? That's not if you're selling cars. That would be like, say you sell, you know, a piece of technology that can be used in cars, but maybe you want to target somebody that has a, you know, a high tech savvy users type of car brand. So these are just some outside the box ideas to try to get after different types of targeting if your audience doesn't fall into some of the more traditional age, demographic, geo. So when we're looking at actually diving into your Facebook accounts, many of you, probably all of you, have what we call a personal Facebook account. So that's me, Tina Serio, and I have my personal account where I post pictures of me doing bar classes and my dog doing cute things. Business side, that's called a Facebook page. So that's where I would create my business page for Modern Digital or for my clients, for example. So I'm going to have you guys do a little exercise. So this probably is a little bit easier on your mobile device to post onto Slack, but you can do it on your desktop as well. So if you're on your mobile phone, so pull out your mobile phone, go ahead and open up the Facebook app on your phone. You can also do this on desktop, so just go to facebook.com on your desktop. The quickest way to find your Facebook page for your business, if you already have one created, is to click on the little hamburger button. Let me see if I can get my pointer. There's no pointer. Remote controls. Oops, hold on, I'm giving up controls here. It's always so hard. Pointer. There we go. Here we go. Let's see here. All right, so the little hamburger button is right down here. So that's what we call a hamburger button. Click on that. Then you're going to see, once you click on that, you're going to see hopefully your name, and then you'll see the different pages. So click on your pages, or if you already see the ones that you manage, you can just click right on that page. Let me go to Modern Digital. I'm doing it on my phone too. So once you're over here on your Modern Digital page, you click on the More button. Or if you're not seeing the More button, you can click on, let me see what I have. I actually have something different now on mine. I actually have a little gear symbol. So click on gear symbol. And then once you're in there, you should be able to see something that says copy page link. Hold on. I'm trying to do it from my phone too to make sure I have that. And now I'm not seeing it. Slightly changed. What the heck? Hold on, folks. Pause the phone. My exercise is already failing. Okay, modern digital. Anyone else see it? Has this thing changed recently? I'm like scratching my head. Oh, that's a fail. Fail on my side. No idea. Okay. Fantastic. Beautiful, Tina. Okay, let's do this on the desktop, because I just failed with that. And I don't want you guys to have to watch me fumble around on Facebook. Okay, let me share. Okay, so if you're on Facebook, everyone can see my Facebook screen here. You're on the desktop. Cool. All right, so over here on the left-hand side, you can see this little drop down. Hopefully you can see that drop down where you can see the different pages right here. You might also see your pages already over here on the left-hand side if you've already clicked on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on see more. So now I can see all the pages that I manage. I'm gonna click on modern digital. So modern digital, this is my business page. So what I was trying to get after on the mobile device, but was having trouble. So I was trying to just get this URL that you can then copy and drop into Slack. So go ahead and copy your business page's your Facebook URL and go ahead and drop it right into Slack. I'm gonna wait for you guys to do that and see if something happened with Facebook setup that I didn't figure out. Is anyone having trouble on the desktop?
And which one do you press on that? On the, like drop, you do the drop down menu and then?
I did the drop down menu. You might see yours already pop up here.
Yes.
Otherwise, click see more, and then it'll show you all your pages that you manage.
Okay. Right.
I love how Facebook always changes stuff, and then I'm like, oh, why did you do that? Now I have to go ahead and update my whole deck. All right, so you can see some folks have started to drop in their businesses. I'm gonna go ahead and share my Slack now. Okay, so if you would like to follow your fellow classmates, now you have each of their businesses. And now we have them to, now you have your business pulled up so you can use that for any of the following exercises. So we have Linda, who has an authentic Mexican foods company. All right, Nicole, I'm assuming these are a couple of your clients, is that right? Or do you work for these companies?
I actually work for both of them. They're like sister companies.
Gotcha.
We're just, yeah.
Awesome. All right, Kendall, we already heard a lot about her company. There's her link. Sokovia. Oh, fun. All right. Pillars of Strength Studio. Love it. Oh, there's your studio. Perfect. All right, so go ahead and drop in. I see some folks are still dropping them in, so I'll give you guys a second, and then I'll reshare my screen. Cool. All right, that was a quick little exercise, just getting into your business account or getting into your Facebook page. I'm going to show you how to get into your business account as well in a moment. Okay, so now we're just going to take a step back and orient ourselves in the digital marketing landscape for Facebook. So as you probably know, there's a lot of different channels. Specifically, the way that I like to break out marketing channels is into paid, earned, and owned. So paid marketing channels would be something like television advertising. A paid digital channel would be paid social. So this is like when you are actually creating a Facebook ad versus earned, which is where you might earn a share, earn a like from posting organically and having people either share or comment or interact with your brand. In the traditional sense, earned would be like PR. So you're getting press for your business. Owned is what you own and operate. So if you own a gluten-free bakery, you are able to put all your muffins on the top and your scones on the bottom of your display rack. A website or your social media profile, that's what you own, and you're able to edit the image that you have on your profile, edit the about section, for example. And as we know, there's a lot of different digital marketing channels and tactics that you can branch out into, with that pun, branching out, across the digital marketing ecosystem. I'd like to show this infographic in all of my classes because I know that social media is very attractive. It's very, engaging, and we want to get on there and start sharing your business on social media. But my recommendation would be to make sure that you have your house in order in terms of having a decent website, having some website that people can, if they find you on Facebook, even if you're asking them to just interact on Facebook, that way, if they see your ad or see your post and they go and Google search your brand later, they can still find that you have an actual website. So it helps with your credibility. It helps to show that you're a legitimate business if you have that website. If you are an app developer or you're marketing for an app, your website might not be as important as like your app page that you have on the different app platforms. So all this being said, when you're doing any digital marketing, you want to make sure that you are speaking your audience's language and telling a consistent story across any of these touch points. So let's talk a little bit more about Facebook and how Facebook is marketing, and marketing is Facebook. So Facebook is part of what we call social media marketing. So this is promoting your brand and your content on social media channels. Facebook also has an element of content marketing. So with content marketing, you're creating and promoting your content assets. Content could be a blog post that you post on Facebook. Content could also be an infographic that you create. Facebook is also paid. So similar to like pay per click on, say, Google, Facebook, you're being charged based on impressions. So when we talk about pay per click, you're paying a publisher each time something happens. Your ad is clicked, or your ad is seen by your audience. With Facebook ads, you're also paying the publisher being Facebook. Native advertising. So native advertising, the definition is content-led ads featured alongside non-paid content. So an example of that in the Facebook world would be your newsfeed. So you have your ad, your newsfeed ad, that's alongside other newsfeed posts that people are posting. So you might see a post that so if you're my mom, you might see a post that I posted about Brie, a post a meme that I shared about social distancing, and then she might see an ad for, home design, for example. That's native advertising. Marketing automation in general is just a software or a tool or a solution that helps you to automate some sort of operation of your marketing. So a lot of marketing automation tools will help you with lead nurturing or lead flow. Another marketing automation tool might be like email marketing. So say you create an ad and you collect a bunch of email addresses from your ad, you might then use a marketing automation tool, like an email platform, to help to automate emails that go out to people after they fill out an ad on your form. So I have a client right now, and they're running a donation campaign. So they're trying to donate money to nonprofits that are helping support any COVID-19 issues. So what we're actually doing is we have a Facebook lead ad, which is a form that pops up in the ad. People will fill in their information. That automatically goes into, so marketing automation automatically going into their email platform. And then it triggers an ad that gets sent out to people that fill out that form with the information on how to get the donation. So we've created this automated process so that we don't have to go into Facebook and download our leads and then put them into our platform and then send out an email. It makes it a little bit easier for us. And video advertising. So Facebook is video advertising as well. So you can create a video and deliver videos to people who prefer that kind of content. So when you're creating ads on Facebook, it's good to try to vary the types of content. So not just all images, videos are also something that people really like on Facebook. Let's talk a little bit about placements and where to post on Facebook. So here are a few of the placements that I have used a lot in my Facebook ads. So we have feed and stories and more, oh my. So that's my, what's it called? Wizard of Oz little quote there. So Facebook feeds are, like I mentioned, those native ads. Facebook stories, people use those a little bit less than Facebook feed ads, but still another way to try to get in front of folks. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to use stories in the next slide. Video ads that are shown within the feed are called video feeds. And then right-hand column, these happen on desktop. So I don't know if you noticed when I was showing my Facebook homepage, but there's sometimes ads on the right-hand side, kind of similar to a display banner ad. So how can you engage with your audience using stories? So within stories, you can share moments of your day. You can do storytelling. When you're posting organically with stories, they only last 24 hours. You can mitigate this restriction by posting a Facebook Stories ad, which you can run for longer than 24 hours. You can also humanize your brand. So people are anticipating a little bit more human contact when and a little bit less business speak in the stories posts. It also can help you to drive traffic to your feed. So people that may not see your ad in the feed, but may see it in the stories as they're flipping through a whole bunch of stories in their within the businesses that they follow. And then when you're posting a stories ad, you can reach people outside of your existing audience. And then the specs for that are right here too, if you want to know the exact specs. Okay, so let's dive into some best practices and tips on social media. I'm just going to do a quick time check. Okay, let's get through the tips and then I'll give you guys a quick break where you can I'll just take a quick bio break or ask me questions on Slack. Okay, so some tips on how to use social media in general. So you want to be prepared. So do the look, do the listen, do the learn, really prepare and do the research before you post or you create your ads or post. Focus on the business metrics or social media metrics that matter to you. Be authentic. So if you're honest and open and are not spamming people with unwanted information, they're going to be more likely to interact with your ad and follow you later. Make sure that you're always adding value. So think about how social media can add value to somebody's life. Do you want to be entertaining? Do you want to be interesting? Do you want to be relevant to your audience? Do you want to give them facts? So think about how you're adding that value. Be anticipated. So make sure that your posts are something that people look forward to hearing. Make sure that you're personalizing to your voice, and also when people are voicing their opinions, you're responding to them. So even on ads, people are going to comment on ads. They're going to like, they're going to dislike. It is a social medium. So make sure that you're ready to interact and create that dialogue. Keep your copy short and sweet. So remember that you have a very small time frame to reach people on social media. Get the timing right on when to post your ad. So you do this by testing. So I can tell you when my audience is going to be, is engaging in my social media posts and ads, but that's going to be very different from when your audience is. And include a call to action. This goes for ads and organic posts alike. So within your ad, you're going to have, think about a dozen different calls to action. Make sure you select the one that makes the most sense for the campaign that you're running. So there might be like a shop now or sign up. Also have some sort of call to action when you're posting organically. So you're not going to have the option of like a drop down when you post organically. So you'll want to work that into the copy that you have. And it might be a lighter touch than what you have in your ad. So it might just be learn more or visit our website. So when you're posting on both organic and paid, there's an algorithm called the Facebook EdgeRank. As you probably expect, it's a combination of many different factors, much like the Google algorithm. So where your ad is actually, where and when your ad is actually going to show to your target audience, either if you're posting organically or paid, are based on a few different factors. So affinity is based on the score between the viewing user, so your end user, and the person that created the post. So the weight will be based on different engagement metrics, like people commenting or liking or interacting with your ad or your post. And then decay, so that's the time piece. So how long ago your ad or your post was created. Okay, some best practices on Facebook and how to use it. So you're able to post images that are a little bit more lo-fi than on Instagram, but people are still gonna want quality images, especially if you wanna build up your brand credibility. Make sure that you're sizing your images appropriately. Some of the ad placements that you select may not allow for certain images. So when you're building out your, and selecting your placements, you'll wanna look at the specifications that Facebook provides you within their platform to make sure that your image is the appropriate size. Posting frequently, so you wanna balance, again, your resources, your time resources, with making sure that you're staying relevant and keeping yourself anticipated. So for you and your business, that might be a few times a week. For you and your business, that might be a few times a month that you're posting. The benefit of running ads is you could say, you know, have a few different ad variations rotating. And then also on the organic side, the benefit of using a tool like the tools that Facebook have for posting, or a tool like Hootsuite or Sprout, you can use those tools to help to schedule your posts. Use current trends. So trends are constantly changing, tools are constantly changing, different features within Facebook. So follow others to try to get some ideas. Test out video, mentioned that before. Leverage the community. So this is twofold. One, you can look at what others are doing in their posts. So liking other pages that are within your industry, or just perusing Facebook and the other social media platforms to see what the rest of the community is talking about or which features they're using. Also, you can leverage the community in terms of influencers and trying to get in front of influencers that are posting on Facebook. And like others. So again, this is kind of in the same vein of leveraging the community, but trying to get those ideas from others that are posting. Okay, so I'm gonna take a pause right here. We're gonna come back at the top of the hour. So whatever your hour is, for me, that's gonna be 4 o'clock. Yes, I was like, what time is it? 4 o'clock. So come back at 4 o'clock Eastern time, whatever that is for your time, but you have 10 minutes, just take a quick break. If you have questions, just post them in Slack. That way I can answer them for everyone and everyone can see the answer. All right, folks, come on back. Okay, so Lisa, you had a question about finding your, do you find it?
No, I don't.
No.
Yes, you
Okay.
No, I did that little button, but it dropped down and it didn't look like my URL. Is it just, yeah, I guess, I don't know.
Let's take a look.
Okay.
I'm gonna just share this screen. Okay, so this is really small. Hold on, let's zoom in. Okay, when you click on this little down button,
Right.
you don't see any pages.
I do see pages. Yeah. Is that what it is? Is that the, right. Okay. That's what the URL is.
Yeah, so we'll first click on one of those.
Mhm.
So, and if you don't see it, you can click on more. So I'm just gonna click on Modern Digital.
Got it.
Once you're here, this is your, up in the top left corner, that's your URL.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions, folks, on the phone? I didn't see anything else come into Slack. Wonderful. All right, I'm going to share the presentation now. So creating your Facebook ads. So why are we even talking about ads? Why don't we just post organically? It's free, right? Well, the organic reach of Facebook pages has been on a continuous decline. Stats say that even pages that have over 1 million likes have a reach as low as 2.27%. So even folks that have a ton are unable to reach their audience. So why is that? Well, a few years ago, Facebook decided to start prioritizing personal profile posts over business posts. And when they did that, they saw that their stock price went up, so they were making more money as organic page reach went down. So as they made that change and started prioritizing personal over business, they saw that their stock price actually went up. So that's why they did it as a business. And for these reasons is why we're even talking about doing advertising versus posting organically. So not only will your Facebook ads improve your social presence over where organic cannot, it will also help you to drive traffic to your website, sales, and leads. So that's the why we're talking about it. So let's talk a little bit about content and targeting. So when you're creating content, this is the practice of promoting your brand and content on the Facebook platform. You're able to, within ads, leverage your content and use the targeting. We've kind of highlighted some of the targeting, but that's available on Facebook. And it's going to help you to drive many different goals. Here are just some that you can drive for your business. So in terms of targeting, not only are we talking about what your audience wants to see, but also understanding how to find them. So you can layer on different types of targeting, which we're going to showcase as we go through the ad, such as lookalike targeting, category targeting, different types of custom audiences like an email list. You can also layer on geo, age, and you can also do retargeting. We'll talk about what that looks like. So the first thing I want you to do is go into ads.facebook.com. So just go into your web browser and type in ads.facebook.com to get into Facebook Ads Manager. So bonus for you, if you want to run Instagram ads, that's also where you will be able to build Instagram ads, but we're just talking about Facebook today. So if you don't have a company page yet, so if when you clicked on this little caret button at the top, I'm gonna move my little thing here. I'm gonna be able to annotate. Okay, so if you do not see this little drop down here, or if you click it and you don't see your page, you can create a page. So by clicking create and then clicking page. So if you do not have a page, it's going to kick you over to a page creation path, so where you're going to have to put in all your business information. So if you're a public figure, you can select that and fill out your public figure or community page information. Most of us are probably a brand or a business, so you're going to be filling this in much like I did here with kind of a mock brand for a boot camp that I did. So you'll have to fill in all this information in order for Facebook to have you click continue. So once, oh, how do I clear that? Clear my drawings. Okay. So once you have created your page and you go to ads.facebook.com or facebook.com/ads manager, this will get you to the same place. You'll likely be kicked to a page like this. If you get a page like this, you can click on create an ad or the create an ad down here to get into Ads Manager. If for some reason you're stuck in facebook.com, you can go to create again and then go to add. So you're going to create an ad. But if you ever get lost and you need to just get to Ads Manager, you can go to ads.facebook.com to get right into Ads Manager. Within Ads Manager, we'll all have probably different views for depending on what we have set up already. If you do get lost in Ads Manager, in the top left-hand corner, you see that hamburger. We call this a hamburger menu here because it looks like a hamburger. You see this little hamburger menu, and you can click on that to navigate to Ads Manager. Okay. Does anyone not have a page when they're working on that right now? Is anyone unable to get into ads.facebook.com?
Yeah, I sent a question in Slack because I'm confused. I use Business Manager, but not the ads.facebook.com page that you mentioned.
And so you might not have access to your clients, correct? That's what you're thinking?
So I am the client in this situation.
You are the client. Okay, so you should be able to have access. Let me just hop into the live. That way maybe I can troubleshoot it for you. So I created this kind of mock business account for this class, so it doesn't have any information in it. Are you able to get into a screen that looks like this or no? Like the Ads Manager? Or do you see this navigation on the left?
Business Manager looks kind of like that, but no, I don't see the actual Ads Manager portion. Okay.
So on the left-hand side, if you have not created an ad account, you may have to create an ad account first. So over on the left, you should see the little house, and then you see this Rubik's Cube menu right here. If you click on that, do you see Ads Manager as a shortcut?
Yes.
Okay, try clicking on that and see what that takes you to. It might tell you that you need to create an ads account and link it to your business account.
Okay, no, it's now showing up as with our active campaigns in it.
Perfect, wonderful. Okay. Again, it's kind of challenging because everyone will have some different issues. So there's, like I mentioned to you and I think I sent somebody an email. You need to, if you're working with your client account, then you need to ask your client to give you access to a few different things. So you need to get access to their ad account if you're going to be running ads. You need to be a page admin if you're going to be posting on their page. And if you need to make changes to like their business settings, which includes setting up like a pixel, you'll need to have them give you access to the business account too. Facebook has a lot of different things that you need to get access to in order to fully have access to all those different things. So you'll just need to request that from the admin of the page, the ad account, or the business account. But if you're creating it yourself, you should be able to get access to everything. It might just mean that you need to create those different accounts. And so if you ever get lost, you can look over here on the left-hand side and you can see all these different links over here. Okay, so what I'd love for everyone to get into is a screen like this. And you do this by going to facebook.com/adsmanager or ads.facebook.com. Or if you're already in here, you can use the Rubik's Cube to get there. Cool. All right, let me switch over to the presentation. Where'd my presentation go? Here we go. Okay. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to click. Sorry, I missed my prompt here. So when you're in, there we go. When you're in the main screen for Ads Manager, you may see a bunch of campaigns if you've already tried launching some campaigns. What I want you to do is I want you to click on this green button over here. So that says Create. If you're on one of these other tabs, go ahead and click on your campaign tab right here and click on Create. All right, so first thing I want you guys to do is to just make sure you're in the right account. So you can see in the top left-hand corner, there's a drop down. So just make sure you're posting. If you have multiple client accounts or multiple brands for yourself that you're managing, just make sure you're in the right one. And if you're not, click close and select the correct one from the top navigation. But the first thing we're going to do when we're creating a Facebook campaign is we're going to make sure that we're in this guided creation. So in the top right, you see quick creation. If you're in the quick creation, then you want to make sure that you're in the guided creation. So that way you can follow along and see exactly the examples that I'm going to be providing here. I'm going to pause, take a breath, and make sure nobody is lost here. So make sure you're in guided creation, not quick creation. All good? Wonderful. Okay, so if you were in the wrong account, you would click close and then you would go to the top and click on the correct account that you're in. And if you don't have that business account, I just blocked out some of my client names, but if you don't have a business account, you'll need to create a business account in order to do things like adding a pixel to your site. Okay, I'm gonna skip over this actually, I think is it Farrell? Is that how you say your name? Farrell? Yeah, okay. This is where it would take you to create an ad account if you didn't already have it, but it sounds like you guys do. Okay, so when you're creating a campaign, it looks like this in terms of the hierarchy of a campaign. You have the campaign at the top, and then you have ad sets within the campaign, and then you have ads within your ad sets. So there's two different ways to create an ad on either Facebook or Instagram. One is you can boost a post. So if you're a business owner, you probably have Facebook and Instagram saying, hey, you want to boost your post? They want you to create an ad. They want your money. So you can certainly do that within the facebook.com interface or right from your mobile device for Facebook and Instagram. But there's a couple of pros and cons of doing the boosting versus using Ads Manager. So if you're boosting a page post, it's going to be really easy to deploy. Obviously, it gives you a couple of really simple options. However, you're going to be limited on the content. So you're going to be boosting a post that you've already created, not creating an ad from scratch. You're going to be more limited on the targeting that you're going to be able to do. And last I checked, there's a 30-day expiration. So you can't run them evergreen. It's going to stop after a period of time. What I'm going to show you is how to create an ad within Ads Manager, which will be a little bit more complex, but we're going to use the guided creation. So we're going to walk through a step-by-step process. You're going to have much more customization, and there's no expiration date. So you could run your ads, you could duplicate your ads, you can have a lot more customization within Ads Manager. So the first step that we're going to do is creating a campaign. At the campaign level, you're going to be able to set your objective. So for example, driving traffic to your website or driving a conversion, which is the example that we're going to use today. So I know each of you probably have different objectives that you have for your business, but let's all go ahead and select conversion to be able to see all the same options as you go through. If you selected something like reach, for example, Facebook's going to give you different placements and targeting options based on that objective that you set. So just for today, let's go ahead and click conversion so you can follow the same process as everyone here. I also want to call your attention to this left-hand side here, where you're going to be able to see how you're moving through the ad creation process. So this is going to be helpful to say, oh, wait, what did I want to go back and change my objective. You can easily click to it here or see how far you are in the process. Okay, so after you select conversion for your objective, you're going to fill in your name. So this is where I was talking earlier about having a logical naming convention for any of your marketing campaigns that you're creating, but particularly in Facebook, because you're going to have, hopefully if you're doing a good job of creating a lot of very targeted ads and ad sets and campaigns, you're going to have a lot over the course of time. So have a logical naming convention for your business and your organization. So moving on down, this is where you do a split test. We're not going to create a split test today, but that's where that option is. And then you have your budget. So you can set a lifetime budget or a daily budget. So for this campaign, I'm just selecting $100 for my daily budget. And then click Set Up Ad Account. So if you already had an ad account, you will not see this, this screen. It'll just kick you right to the ad set. But if you had not created an ad account, it's going to ask you for some information about you and your business. So where is your business located? This is not your targeting for your audience. This is to have Facebook know where you're located, what kind of currency you use and what your time zone is, just for reporting and different features. Okay, so all that's done. Now we're going to create an ad set. An ad set is where you're going to set your audience. You can have multiple ad sets within a campaign. You can set your budget here. You can set for each ad set. You can set a schedule for each of your ad sets. And this is where you get to do the fun stuff about taking all of that targeting that we talked about, right? And leveraging the targeting capabilities of Facebook to align your target audience with the audience and users on Facebook. So what kind of data does Facebook use for targeting? So one that Facebook uses is retargeting. So you could retarget your site visitors, for example. Custom audiences. So you can use, say you have email addresses for folks, or you have phone numbers. So you can input different lists of, in data lists, customer lists that you have into Facebook, and they're going to go ahead and match that to the users within Facebook. Somebody had a question in Slack, which I tried to answer just in a response there, about the match rate. So what Facebook is doing is they are taking your list, whatever data you provide them, and they're matching it up to the data that they have for that member within Facebook. So there's going to be different match rates for different industries, different audiences, different data that you're providing. So you'll want to, the best way to see what your match rate is to take your list and upload it into Facebook and see what comes back. I mentioned in Slack that if you have personal addresses for people, it's going to be a higher match rate than business addresses, because people use their, for the most part, are using their personal email to log into Facebook. Any other, I forget who asked that question, but did you have any questions, any follow-up questions there?
I'm not sure if you're referring to me or my question, but my question kind of goes like a level beyond this as to like, are there any services that you could use to basically better complete an existing list that you may have that you're trying to target?
Yeah, so you're essentially wanting to grow your audience, right? So there's a couple different things you can do. So within Facebook, you can do a lookalike targeting, which I'm gonna show you how to do a lookalike targeting using a custom audience. So say you have an email list, you upload your email list into Facebook, and they say, oh, we only matched about 20% of your email list. And you're like, darn, I only had 100 people on that list. That's only 20 people, which would be very small, right? Obviously. So what you could do is you can say, Facebook, please find people that look like the people in this list. So that's your seed audience. And then you're saying create a lookalike, a similar audience to people that are in that custom audience that you uploaded. You can also use your website visitors. So say you tell Facebook, hey, people that have been to my website, these are valuable. I want to find other people that look like those people. And when I say look like, I don't mean brown hair, brown eyes. I mean, they behave, they have similar interests. So Facebook is going to use all the data that they have at their disposal to find other people similar to those folks. So that's another way to expand out your audience besides what you've already captured. There's other tactics for building out like an email list, for example, one of which is doing an ad campaign, get people interested in your business, posting really relevant content, getting influencers to talk about your business, just getting people to your website, to your blog, to your Facebook profile, and always offering up, hey, we have a newsletter, hey, follow us. So doing this kind of like rinse and repeat of providing valuable content and constantly engaging is just going to naturally build out your audience over time. So there's not like one single tactic to use. It's going to be a combination of a lot of different efforts.
Right, but I was just wondering if there's any like services or companies out there that kind of like can take an existing list and like basically see if there are other like emails or whatever that or phone numbers that match that individual. So
Yeah.
for example, sorry. Yeah, so like for example, like in my work, it's a little more complicated because my clients are political clients. So it's not like we're selling a product and we can just be like, oh yeah, we're going to target 40-year-olds or whatever it is. Like it's a little bit more complicated, and like, yes, we can build a lookalike audience, but then like we have to geofence it on top of that, like because who we're targeting are voters. So it's a very, it's a bit more narrow than just like broadly advertising for a product based on like interests and like contextual targeting.
Yep, absolutely. So I don't know of any specific companies. I know that there's companies out there that you can provide them with lists, or you can give them parameters and you can buy lists from them. But I caution against purchasing lists because those are going to be probably the least engaged audiences that you'll find, because you're buying them versus acquiring them by by providing value to them. So you can certainly do that if you have zero. Like I have a client right now where we started with a purchase list. Our list performed really poorly in email marketing campaigns, and it's the list that performs the worst on Facebook in terms of engagement. So it's you kind of just assume that it's going to be a challenge if you're purchasing lists. But I mean, like I said, you can go at it from multiple angles. You can create a similar audience in Google as well. You can do display ads on Google, create a similar audience. You can do a paid search campaign, drive people to a landing page, and then retarget those people on Facebook. So there's a lot of other, probably just more work-heavy, time-heavy tactics that you can use that will likely be more fruitful than a purchase list.
Yeah,
Great.
Amy, I've worked in political clients too before. I actually lost both my jobs due to COVID-19, but I have been an ads manager like once or twice before. And what we did was we got the voter file from the campaign and uploaded the voter file and then matched people that way. And then just targeted to congressional districts and stuff. But now that I'm back in ads manager, I don't know how to do that. So, but that's my experience of
Yeah, we've been using voter files, but however, the issue with voter files is that like people only really register once or twice or change registrations once or twice in their lifetime. So it's a little hard when the information can become outdated very quickly. So like that's kind of like the problem that I'm trying to remedy.
Well, I totally get you. I didn't even know about voter files, so that's new to me. Anybody else have any other real life examples or any other ideas? Okay. Well, hopefully that helped a little bit. I know you definitely have a challenge there. Okay, one of the other ways that you can target people on Facebook is through page connections. So if they already have a connection with you or one of your sister brands. Interests. So like Amy was just mentioning, interest might not be the best option for her, but if you know that people have an interest in, say like wine tasting, that's what we use for one of my wine clients, or vacations, which is probably not the best thing to be targeting right now, but any of those kind of like interests, and you can get pretty granular. So for my client right now, that's an e-commerce retailer, we target people that are interested in like fitness clothing, which is very specific to them. Lookalike audiences, I'm going to show you how to build one. I mentioned a little bit in that example about lookalike audiences and how to create those. And then geo-targeting and age targeting are pretty self-explanatory, but I'm gonna show you where to do that within the platform. So retargeting, who here has done retargeting before, either on Facebook or elsewhere? Okay, who wants to tell me, Isabel, want to tell me how you did retargeting for your business in the past?
Yeah. Oh, we did retargeting from visitors to the website. So awesome. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's the example I'm going to give you. So I worked for a marketing advertising company. I did marketing for a marketing company. So we had the goal of trying to get people to fill out a form on our website. So how we did retargeting was we had people who connected with our brand, so people that came to our website but didn't fill out a form. And we said, hey, those people, I want to collect them into an audience. So we cookied them and we collected them into an audience. We did this on Google, Facebook, we did it across a whole bunch of platforms. And we said, anybody that is similar, anyone that does this same behavior, website visitor, non-converter, put them into an audience. So we put them into an audience together and called them just that. And then we were able to provide them with relevant targeting based on the fact that we knew something about them. We knew that they had already visited our website and didn't convert. So we were able to personalize our ads and our messaging to those particular people. Okay, so now as we're traveling down this little journey on the left-hand side, I'm gonna go ahead and call your attention to the ad set name. So like I mentioned before, naming conventions can be easily missed, but they're super important. So go ahead and name your ad something that is logical to this particular audience that you're creating. So if you're creating an audience of people in the US that are 18 plus, and that's all you're doing for your audience, cool, you're done with that and you can just leave it like that. But most likely, most of us are gonna be adding in some other targeting such as you know, a sub-geo or lookalike, for example. The next step that you're gonna do is implementing your Facebook pixel. So if you haven't done this already, you'll see this blue button right here that'll tell you that you need to create your pixel. So I'm not gonna step through the process because each of us has different roles in terms of managing our websites. If you have a web developer, then you'll want to create the pixel and select the option of sending it to your developer. If you do it yourself, you'll want to select that option and implement it yourself. I implemented mine myself through Squarespace. That's what my website for Modern Digital is built on. And that was pretty simple. It's pretty user-friendly. I'm not a web developer or designer, and I was able to implement it pretty easily. So you don't have to do this right now because it might take some time to get the right people to place the pixel, but just make sure you send the instructions if you're sending it to a web developer or designer. Okay. As you scroll on down the page, you'll notice on your left-hand side, Facebook's telling you you did a good job. You've completed these tasks underneath the ad set section. I'm going to call your attention to the audience section. So this is defining who you want to see your ads. And we're going to create a custom audience. That's going to be the first thing that we're going to create. And then we're going to create a lookalike audience based on that custom audience. So go ahead and select custom audience. So when you're creating your audience, you are reaching the people that matter to you. So that might be a custom audience of people that have already shown an interest in your business, such as an email list. Or you're creating a lookalike audience to expand out to people similar to your seed audience. Or you're selecting a saved audience that you've already created in the past. And you're like, these are our shining stars and we want to market to them. So once you click on custom audience, you'll see a whole bunch of different example or options that you have to select from. The one that we're going to use today is your Facebook page. That's going to be your custom audience. So you're going to select people who have engaged with your Facebook page. I'm selecting this one versus website visitors because not everyone might have their pixel set up right now. Okay, so select Facebook page, and then it's going to kick you over to some additional options that you have. So make sure you have your correct page selected. You can click on this button to see the different options for how people have engaged with your page, and then you also have a window of when they actually did that action. And then name your audience. I did a bad job of naming this. I just named it Modern Digital, which, as you could probably tell, is probably going to get confusing if I create Modern Digital 1, Modern Digital 2. So you'll want to name it something like Facebook page engagement or Facebook page video viewers. So what are the most valuable custom audiences? Website traffic, super valuable. So if you're a brand new brand, you might not have a lot of website traffic. Oops, no, jumped it. Email list. So if you have people who have subscribed to your email newsletter or have said they want to hear from you in marketing, that's a really great, already engaged, already, you know, somebody that's already raised their hand. Another good custom audience is people who have engaged on your social media, so on Facebook or on Instagram. So once you save and create that custom audience, you're going to go back to your ad, your guided creation. Underneath this audience section, you're going to select create new and then select your lookalike audience here. I'm going to take a breath and see if anyone is lost right now. Any lost souls? All right, cool. So click on lookalike audience. Now pay attention to this part because I get lost in here, so you will likely get lost. Once you're in the create a lookalike audience section and you click on this, this field right here, you're gonna see value-based sources, don't click on that, and then you're gonna see other sources. So click on other sources and then you should see that custom audience in this list that you just created. So select the custom audience that you just created. Anybody not able to find their custom audience?
I had more than one. Does that matter?
Yeah, just select whichever one you want to create a lookalike off of.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's essentially your seed audience. So the root audience that you're gonna say, hey, find other people like this. Cool. All right, so go ahead and save that. The next step that I'm gonna tell you about, I'm gonna give you guys 5 minutes in a breakout group to play around with the age and location settings. So everyone's gonna have different age options. So the age is down here, kind of see it right down there. And then your locations are in this section here. Ugh, my drawing is horrible. So go ahead and just take 5 minutes. I know we're coming up on time, but I want to give you guys some time to just play around with this. And then go ahead and look over here at your estimated daily results and your audience size and see how that changes as you select different, different geo and age restrictions. As you scroll down on the page, you're also going to see, oops, hold on. You're also going to see these detailed targeting options. So this is where you can go ahead and play around with different types of interests, different types of roles, a whole bunch of other fun stuff that might relate to your business. Just remember, we're playing around with this. As you layer on this additional targeting, your audience is going to get smaller and smaller. If you remove your custom audience and or your lookalike audience from the mix, it's going to make your audience size bigger and just focus on some of these other targeting options. So just play around for 5 minutes. Any questions on the exercise? Cool. All right, I'm going to drop you into breakout groups then. I can do that here. Breakout groups. I'm going to recreate my breakout groups because I think some people have. There we go. All right, folks, we're coming back. Just close the breakout rooms. All right, just waiting for everyone to come back here. Do I have, let's see, who's asking me my questions? Michaela, is Michaela back? You're just on mute. Can you hear me, Michaela?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
We think we figured it out. My page only has 1,000 followers, so we think that might be why. But there are several people who've had the same issue, so.
Yeah, so what we're doing right now is we're adding a whole bunch of targeting restrictions. So it's going to make your audience smaller, 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 smaller. So one thing that you can do, and I would actually recommend this for everyone, is removing the custom audience. So let me just share. Oh, you deleted. Oh, no, here's your. Wait, did you delete your thing? You deleted your screenshot? Okay.
Oh, I put it in the thread, so it wasn't like clogging everyone's feed. But I put it like our little side conversation thread.
I gotcha. Okay. For some reason I can't. I think you, oh, here it is. Okay, cool. Let me just share, if you don't mind, Michaela, do you mind me sharing your screenshot?
No, not at all.
Okay, cool.
I actually didn't select any whatever, like making it smaller. I made it as general as I possibly could to see what it would be, and it still says less than 10, so.
Yep, let me just step through this. So can you all see the screenshot here? Okay, hopefully you can see this. Okay, so Michaela's custom audience, so the first thing that she did, like we stepped through in the process, is she created a page engagement. So these are people that have engaged with her Facebook page. And then she created the lookalike audience. So totally on point with my instructions. What I would recommend, since you don't have a ton of people currently engaged with your page, is removing this first layer. So removing as you hover over it, you should be able to see an X, and you'll be able to close out of that first custom audience selection. And that way you're only targeting lookalike. You may still have a very small audience because you have it set to 1%. So what that means is that you've told Facebook, find people that are very, very similar, very, very close to my Facebook engagers. So you can move that scale up a little bit further to say, hey, Facebook, you have a little bit more leeway, a little bit more ability to reach outside of the people that are super close to my page engagers. So 1 is going to be very close, 10 is going to be very broad. I usually do something in the middle around 5 to get started. And then if I find I'm getting a lot of waste, then I'll scale it back. If I find that I'm not getting a lot of activity and my audience is way too small, I might move it closer to the 10%.
How do you know if there's a lot of waste or not?
So you will look at your performance. So once you get your campaign up and running, you're getting a lot of, say, clicks or a lot of impressions, but people aren't engaging with your ad, or they're not actually taking whatever the conversion is that you want them to take. So maybe it's like a sale. So you're spending a lot of money, but not getting a lot of results from it.
Is there best practice that like you want to be, no higher than 5% or something like that?
No, so I've done campaigns where I run 3 different ad sets, and I have a 1%, a 5%, and a 10%, for example. So you could do. So it really just matters like how your ad sets perform. You might find that a lookalike audience of 10%, you're like, wow, fantastic. Facebook did a great job. It really depends on like the seed audience and your audience in general and how they interact on Facebook. But you'll want to let the performance data direct you in how you should make changes there.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you go back to how we get back? So she made the similar issue, or has having the same issue that I am, and I'm just trying to see how you get back to correct it.
Yeah, so can you get back to this screen that I'm showing here where it shows your the audiences that you've selected?
Yes.
Okay, so if you hover over the very first one, I just don't have access to hers, but if you hover over that very first selection where it says engagement hyphen page, you should see an X to X out of it.
Okay, so
if you close,
I just have the lookalike. I don't have the engagement page.
So you're totally, so yours should be, you should have hopefully a little bit more in terms of the
I
audience.
have fewer than 1,000.
Fewer than 1,000, okay, that's better. What did you set your percentage at? So
I don't know. I didn't know that we should be looking at the percentage until you brought that up.
Yeah, totally. No, and I didn't specify that because it's kind of like a small nuance. But when you're looking at your lookalike and it says lookalike, you see where hers says 1%? What does yours say?
1%.
Okay. So what you would want to do is go through that process and create another lookalike. And let me see if I can do it quite quickly here. And you'd want to set your percentage on the scale to something like 5%. Let me see if I can show you guys really quick. New share.
Okay, create new, custom.
Okay. I'm gonna step through, let me see if I can do this. Okay. Can you guys see me creating an account here? Okay. So come on, Facebook. This is a mock account, so it might have challenges. I don't think I can create a lookalike without anything. Oh, here we go. So when you're creating your lookalike, you'll see this scale right here, and you can drag it up or down. So if you have yours set to 1%, drag it to something higher. Drag it to like 5% or higher to try to open up the audience a little bit more. So this is helping Facebook to reach out further than your most similar audience. Does that make sense?
I have a question. Now that I created a lookalike audience, I tried to like recreate it, but then it told me that it already existed, but then I couldn't find where it existed. Does that make sense?
Can you, let me see here. So I don't have any audiences in this account, so I can't. Oh, you know what? You should be able to click on use saved audience. Did you try that?
I tried that and it didn't look like, I didn't see it there.
Okay. Let me help you after class just because we have a couple minutes and I just want to get through this last section. Okay. So as you scroll down, I'm just going to do it right within the interface. You'll get all the screenshots afterwards. As you scroll down, you see placements. Go ahead and select manual placements. And what you're going to see is all the different placements. If you just want to run on Facebook, you'll go ahead and unselect everything except for Facebook. And then you can see that the Ads Manager has now selected each of the different Facebook placements. So I typically will just run on, they have so many different placements now. I will typically start just by running on newsfeed or on stories just to start and then expand out from there. Because remember, you'll have a certain set of budget to run across all these placements. So I typically will just start small and then expand out from there. And then scrolling down, pro tip, under this mobile device section, I recommend clicking only when connected to Wi-Fi. That way your users have the ability to have the best experience with your ad if they're on a mobile device. Otherwise, they might be just connected to their cell phone network, which will cause the ad to maybe load slower, especially if you have video. All right, I'm just going to jump into the ad section here. So when you're creating your ad, the first thing that you'll want to do, actually, let me just click over to my presentation. That way, this Facebook is, of course, going to be slow. There we go. Okay, so you'll get all these screenshots after. Now we're going to create our ad. So there's a couple different ads that I just showed you the placements for. But you're going to have either an image ad, a video ad, or you can create an ad based on a post that you've already created. So those are the different options. Again, naming convention, select which Facebook page you would like this to be associated with. So again, if you have multiple pages, select your correct one. The example I'm going to step through is just your image or video. And we're going to do an image ad for this example. So I just uploaded an image that I just had on my desktop of my company with some pretty poppies. You can crop it. You can add multiple images within this individual ad to create multiple ad variations. And if you don't have any images, there is free stock photography that you can use. And then all of the recommended ad specs are on the right-hand side, so the specifications for Facebook. So if you need to send this to a designer or you're creating your image from scratch, you'll know what the size should be. And then there's a link over here to the tool. If you look over on the right-hand side, you want to have little or no text overlaid. There's a tool here. If you click on Learn More, you can see the tool that'll help you tell if you have too much text. So the rest of the information here is up to you for your business. So again, you want to try to keep the text short and sweet. As you start to type text into these different buckets, into these different fields, you'll see if it does get truncated, if it gets cut off in the different devices and ad placements. So this center column will tell you can toggle between mobile newsfeed, desktop newsfeed. If you selected stories, you can see how it looks there. So make sure you look at your previews and make sure that your ad still looks good on all the devices and all your important information is visible when somebody is quickly scrolling through the feed. Don't forget your call to action. The one that I used was contact us. And you can select whatever you want for your display link. But just remember, the longer it is, it might get cut off. Your display link is going to be different than what your website URL is, which is where somebody will actually go if they click on your ad. Oh, here's some best practices for you. So include important topics, don't forget your CTA, and don't forget your customer. And if you have differentiators or you're price competitive or you have promos going on, anything to draw their attention to your ad and get them to take an action is recommended. And ta-da, beautiful ad. Okay, so I am going to jump down to the conclusion. I do have some recommendations in this deck about landing pages and creating a content calendar so you can keep yourself organized. So you'll get all of that. So here's all the different stuff we were able to, I also have some information about measuring and optimizing, though we don't get too deep into analytics in this class. But I do have some recommendations on a framework within this, which should be easy for you to follow up on. So my homework for you is to read through this deck, try out just one of the tips, and be proud of yourself. A lot of information today, so just try out one and see how it helps your business. I'm going to go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and drop this link into Slack and ask you guys to quickly just fill out, copy link, to quickly just fill out this survey. That's going to help me to improve my classes in the future. It'll also go to our admin. So you have the link right there in Slack, and then you also have it in the deck that's going to be sent out to you. Cool. All right. So I know that was a lot of information. I'm here to answer any clarifying questions for the next few minutes. If you have any clarifying questions, and you're welcome to post your questions in Slack. I will go back through Slack and try to make sure that I didn't miss anything. If you want to email me directly, if you don't want to email, and if you don't want to send a message in Slack, you can email me at tina@moderndigital.co or reply to the email that you got from General Assembly, which my General Assembly email is copied on that. If you're dying for more information, I have a whole bunch of resources in this deck, of course. I also have a lot of resources on my website in my resources section, and I also have articles that I'm posting pretty regularly. I just posted one about getting active on social media, so feel free to take a look at that if you want to learn more. But that is all the content. That's all the time that we have today. I certainly have more content, but not more time. So please let me know if you have any questions. And thank you so much for all of your participation. It's been great talking and meeting with all of you today.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Who had the question about finding your lookalike audience? Okay, you're on mute, but let's take a quick look. Would you like to share your screen?
Hi there.
Hi.
Yes. Sorry.
Let me give you, I can give you access so you can share your screen.
Great.
I just stopped sharing, so you should be able to see, hopefully at the bottom, a share screen button in Zoom.
Can you see?
I can, yep.
Okay. So I think I did. Not it. Is it? Am I actually in it here? I don't use Zoom that often.
Oh yeah, you're in it. I see you.
Okay.
You're an ads manager. So close out of that. You're creating a new one right now, right?
Yeah, I was trying to. So I clearly already created it when we first did the practice, but now I can't find it in here. All of these are just old ones.
There was a search bar at the very top. Did you try that? Oh, not there. If you click on use saved audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and then let's try searching for it. You think you named it something like
Yeah, it
that?
was one of those. All the other ones are for sure.
Okay. Can you try clicking in the field right below, where next to where it says custom audience?
Wait, where?
Right above where your mouse is, right there.
Mm-hmm.
Click on that field where it says add previous.
Ah, look at that.
Okay, maybe you didn't save it, but it did remember. So it's that test lookalike, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Just one of those.
Now, do I just use these in the future?
Yeah, you can use them in the future. So you'll want to save them, I believe, if you want to use it in another ad set. So I'll show I'll show you how to save it. So go ahead and just click off to the side to get out of that drop down.
Okay.
You can add a whole bunch of lookalikes in here or add additional targeting. As you scroll down this page a little bit and stop.
Oh, and then save.
Then click save. So say you add in, you say lookalike, and then you layer on location, and you layer on a whole bunch of other stuff. You can create a saved audience and just use that in the future.
Okay. Cool.
Cool. All right.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.